So next, let's talk about what diet to follow. There are a gazillion diets out there. There's 35 or so, very popular diets, things like Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Slim Fast here in the United States, and I'm sure there's many overseas. There's the MetaFast diet, and a lot of these are based on, buy our products, buy into our program. We've got all the calories counted for you. And they're really, a lot of it, you have to wonder how much of it is just marketing and making money versus really guiding you into a healthy lifestyle. And then there's the other types of diets, which are not so much commercial programs, but diets like the paleo diet, a vegetarian diet, a low carb diet. And again, with those, what do you choose? There's so much advice out there. So many people saying, avoid gluten, avoid all kinds of refined carbs and processed sugars. And you really have to say, well, what should I eat? What diet really should I follow? And my first piece of advice to you is what makes sense to you? There are some bizarre diets out there like the grapefruit diet or the tomato diet. And you got to say, does that really make sense? Yes, some people may have gotten results, but you don't know what else they were doing. You don't know what habits they were changing. You don't know how much they were exercising. You don't know what medications they may have been taking or supplements that they either started or stopped taking. So there's so much out there that affects how a diet works for somebody. And this course really isn't focused on weight loss, but what I want to talk to you about are the guidelines. What is healthy eating? What really makes sense? And my first guideline is it has to make sense to you. If following a paleo diet doesn't make sense to you, then don't do it. Just because people say it's the healthiest way to eat doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. I'm a vegetarian and I do follow some of the principles of a paleo diet because I do believe in simpler foods, a lot less refined foods, but at the same time I don't eat meat and I have no intention of ever eating meat, which is a big principle of the paleo diet. So you have to think about what makes sense for you. And my second piece of advice is you want to mix and match. So for my example, I look at the paleo diet and I do a lot of my baking without processed flours. I'll use something like an almond meal or a flour like that. So if you think about what you're doing as far as you're eating, you can take the best from what you've learned and what other diets out there that you've seen. If you really think that a low carb diet is good for you and that's really what you want to do, but at the same time you really like to eat pasta, then you may have to just mix and match and find out, okay, I'm going to eat a gluten-free pasta, but I'm still going to have those carbs because it's part of my lifestyle. I want you to mix and match and find out what works for you. And the third thing is don't buy into the hype. There's so much healthy eating advice out there. And people really talk about how strict they are on their diets. I saw these photos, I wish I had them now, and it showed one woman who only ate organic, only ate homegrown food, was very, very strict vegan. And they showed her, and she just looked old and tired and worn, and she was 51 in the photo. And then right next to her, they had a photo of a woman who just ate a traditional diet, drank wine every night, had chocolate whenever she felt like it, and her skin was radiant. She was beautiful. I believe she was an actress, so obviously she had a lot of touch-up going on. But the point was, here's two people following what they felt was right, and the results were completely different. The person eating the so-called healthier diet didn't have any of the radiance, the enthusiasm, the energy, versus the woman who just ate whatever she felt like. She had a much better, healthier appearance. So I want you to not buy into the hype. If someone tells you you can only eat organic in order to be eating healthy, that may not be the case. Again, go back to what makes sense to you. Go back to the mix and match. Maybe you buy some food organically, but others you just don't. Maybe you really enjoy some processed foods. That's okay. This is not about being very, very strict. This is not about getting, the results that you see on TV. Some people drink, what is that bulletproof coffee, I think they call it, where they put butter in their coffee and how much energy that gets and how, much clarity, mental clarity they have. That's a lot of hype. It may work for some people. It certainly doesn't work for all people. And if it doesn't make sense to you, if the thought of putting butter in your coffee makes absolutely no sense, why would you do it? So again, I want you to use your common sense and take from the best of the diets that are out there, the meal suggestions, the expert advice. Take it with a grain of salt. Look at it and say, does that make sense to me? Do I believe that that would be healthier eating for me? Do I believe that that's sustainable for me? I mean, if somebody tells you that you have to make all your own breads in order for you to eat a healthy piece of bread, is that realistic for you? Think about it. I mean, I'm certainly not going to go out and bake every piece of bread. If I want a sandwich, it's an occasional thing. I'm not going to go out and bake bread every single time. I'm going to go to the store and buy something. So really, those are kind of the guidelines. It's a lot of it is hype, a lot of it is not meant to get the results for everybody. Mix and match. Take what you want from a diet, take what you want from a meal program. If you want to be vegetarian but you really like to eat fish, there are plenty of people that define eating fish as part of a vegetarian diet. Take what you want, mix and match, and also follow what makes sense for you. So I want you to have that in mind as we go through this whole course, and I'm going to help you decide what kind of diet you want to follow as we go into the sections that come. But again, there is no hard and fast. You can mix and match any way you want. So I'm a paleo vegetarian. That's how I do things. My meat is eggs usually, or peanut butter. And I know peanut butter is not part of the paleo diet. So again, I kind of make my own rules as I go. And that's what I want you to be able to do. Feel completely free to make your own rules as you go through this whole program.